Alright, here we have our user interface test. So what we'll be testing here is the interface to our oven. So looking here at the bottom, we got our LEDs and buttons, and on the top we got our LCD. Looking at the first light is the power indication, so as we turn it on, the green light turns on, so now we have power to our microcontroller. So as you can see, we now have a menu up. We have the option to run a profile, and we have options set up for our future expansions for the improvements. Back down to the actual user interface, we have 4 buttons here. The first button here is to move our selector. So if we look right next to the word run there, we have a little star that indicates the selector. So this button here is to move, you can read it, to move to the left, so move our selector to the left. So I select it, we now move to the left, all the way back to run. Alright, the next one is move to the right, so same kind of deal except to the right. We have a third button here, which we'll be actually using in our future expansion. And our fourth button is a selector. So for this, we're going to run a unleaded solder profile. So we're going to select run. We're going to move the selector to the right. We have lead and unleaded, and if you look below, we have a custom 1, custom 2, which will be used for future improvements. So instead of doing the leaded, we're going to do the unleaded. So we're going to move to the right, and we're going to select the unleaded, make sure the oven is on, and select unleaded. So we have a little bit of residual heat from our last test. But looking at this, we have 53 degrees in there, about, in Celsius. Our orange light there indicates that we have a profile running. The red light, which is not on yet, indicates when there is above 60 degrees Celsius in there. So it's essentially a warning when it becomes hot in the oven. So we'll actually hit that fairly soon. 60 degrees, and our light is on. So what we have here on the user interface, to the very left, we have a voltage measuring, the 0.63. That is a voltage measuring of the amplified voltage from our thermocouple. Next to that is at 85 degrees is our current temperature inside the oven in degrees Celsius. Next to that, the 150, that is our current target temperature. So the oven is beginning to heat up, and it will target to go to 150 degrees Celsius, which is our temperature where the oven will begin to dwell at. So it will hit 150 degrees Celsius, and it will stay there for a while as we have our drying period. And this number here counting down is the estimated amount of time or cycles till the profile is ended. So we're actually quickly approaching our dwell time. Otherwise, as for other user interface, the only other interface is the control for all the high voltage components here, just to switch on and off. So as you can see down below, all 3 lights are on, which means that the microcontroller is on. Orange light means we're currently running a profile, and red light means it is hot inside the oven. So we have a little thermometer an oven thermometer in there. Because of the mass of the thermometer, it actually lags behind the actual temperature of the air inside the oven. So it's pretty slow to response, unfortunately. So, for now, our oven will run through the unleaded solder profile. So we actually have quite a bit of videos of that. So we still have our interface displaying the current temperature. Our target is still listed at 150 degrees C, indicating that's we're still trying to hover around 150 degrees C. So now, we are now beginning to approach our peak temperature. So if you look, instead of 100, the 150 is now third column has become 260. So that means we are now approaching 260 degrees. When we hit that, our power to the elements will be turned off, and we'll enter the cooling stage of our profile. You can see, yeah, we're constantly refreshing the temperature. As you can see, the ovens are pretty hot. So we're slowly approaching our peak temperature at 260. So we're at 238 degrees Celsius right now and rising. So we'll probably in the next 15 seconds or so, looks like a little bit longer, we will be hitting our peak. So we're about to, alright, we went over our peak. So now we are entering the cooling stage. So if you look, the green light is still on, but the orange light in the middle is now off, indicating our profile has completed. So all we have left is cooling. But the red light itself is still on, as it is still very hot. You know, about 500 degrees Fahrenheit in there. So it's still very warm, and it'll take a little bit of time to cool. Since we're not actually running any, we're not doing an actual reflow, we can actually open the oven and cause it to cool a little bit faster. but so we'll open up the oven, let it cool much faster than normal. This is not a test on the heating profile itself, but rather just to see how the user interface interacts with the rest of the oven. So we're cooling pretty quickly with the door open now. Once we get sufficiently cool, that red light will turn off. Downside is it takes a little bit of time before we get to the inside of the oven to be that cool. Looks like we're getting down to 69 degrees Celsius inside. Once we drop below 60, our red light will turn off, and that will conclude our user interface test. So just a little bit more to go. Alright, well, we're getting a little bit of fluctuations. We're teetering on the edge there, but it looks like, right, yep, 59, 60, it's cooling down. Our hot temperature warning is now off. That red light is now off, indicating that we are below 60 degrees Celsius in the inside space of the oven. So, that concludes all the features for the user interface of our oven.